Hey guys, in this short devotional, we're going to talk about our tongues. Now, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. Today's going to be from James 3:3-6. When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships, for example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder, wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue is small, it's a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and it itself sets afire by hell. So first of all, isn't that just a very warm message? It's a very strong message. It's a very, I don't know, it kind of seems a little, not harsh, but it's very revealing and very eye-opening. When we think about our tongues, I don't think we often think about the fact that it does most of how we communicate in our lives. Now, obviously, there's a lot to do with body language, and that's actually very big too, but when it comes to verbal communication, that's what we use. And I don't think I ever think about that what I'm saying leads my life. And I think the fact that it can put huge stress and huge strain on our lives when we misuse it is something that we need to be incredibly wary for, because I know James certainly says it here that our tongues are like a small spark in a forest fire. I mean, that's huge, right? And that's something that we need to all understand and all take in, because we don't want that. We want to glorify God, and when we use our tongue and misuse our tongue and misuse what we say and dishonor God, that can really hurt a mission here, a ministry, or it can even just hurt your relationships in your day-to-day lives. We don't want that. We want to have strong relationships with others, but also strong relationships with God. And what we say as Christians represents God, and we need to represent God accurately and not use words that, not only maybe you could say don't use cuss words, but also you don't want to be putting other people down. You don't want to be mean-spirited to people. And there's a few things that we could all work on. And then kind of going into it, really, he talks about how the tongue, it does lead whole animals. It does lead whole ships. He uses, a few analogies for it, but we got the boat and the horse and those things that we can take into our human bodies, our tongue. That's the driver of the whole body. And I think that's really accurate. And it controls all of us, all of our tongues. It's something that we all have, and we all use it. Obviously, there's a few of our deaf, but they still use their tongues. It's just in a different way, and then they still speak and communicate. And if nobody had tongues, nobody would be communicating like that. It'd be an incredibly different form of communication. But really, we need to make sure here that our tongues are being controlled and are filtered through God and what He wants us to say and what He desires and what He thinks is good for us to say. We don't want to be thinking for ourselves and thinking that we can just say whatever we want because who cares? God cares, and we need to care because God cares. And what we say and I think what we need to realize is what we say can affect a lot, and it can affect a lot in a very negative way. But also it can affect our lives in a very positive way, and that's something that is really cool and that we could actually use in our lives. And I think that's kind of amazing, the fact that we are even given this blessing. And so it's a blessing, but it can be used for evil, and we need to recognize that. And that's really what James is doing here. He's telling us that this is something that can become a huge negativity in your life because we misuse it and we use it against God's desires. Now, kind of wrapping it up, in prayer, let's go to God in prayer, and let's focus on asking Him, are we using our tongues to glorify Him, and are we saying things and acting out our lives like He would like us, or are we misusing it? Are we saying, bad words? Are we demeaning people? Are we saying, racist things? All those things. It's all bad. It doesn't matter who it's from, And I think that if we focus and center our lives on God and center what we say on God, we'll grow and we'll show the true meaning of Christ, which is what we want to do. We want to spread the word, and it says in the Bible that they'll know we're Christians by our love, but I think that's a whole overarching thing they'll know we're Christians by how we act and how they perceive us and how we treat others. And when we when we misuse our tongue, it's hard for us to do that because we are setting an example that's not very Christian-y, you could say. All right, thank you guys. I hope you have a good one.